welcome to my show. This is my other show. This is Muse. This is the show on which I get to, I'm thrilled to, I'm privileged to, I'm delighted to talk to people who are visited by the Muse. And they're, which means they're artists of a variety of sources. This time I'm talking to Urse Wehrle.
Yes. Who
plays violin for the Auburn Symphony, and among other organizations. But I'm intensely involved and adoring of the Auburn Symphony. If you want to learn more, you would be delighted if you logged on to auburnsymphony.com. I think it's a wonderful organization, and I am in love with it. And so today I get to talk to Urse Wehrle, and welcome. Thank you for joining me, Urse.
Yeah, hi Susan.
Hi.
And thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome.
And the name is Urse, not Ursa.
Urse.
Just Urse.
Urse. Thank you.
It's a common, typical Swiss name.
Okay. Since you say it's a Swiss name, how long have you been in the United States?
I came over in 1994 just for a 6-month assignment. So work. So
okay.
Music is my hobby, and I had a real job, earning money.
Okay, yeah.
So in 1994 I came over here on a 6-month assignment to bring over a product we developed in Switzerland. And that was 6 months, as I mentioned, and then I met my wife. She worked in the same company, so that's how we met.
And what state was this?
That was here in California, in the Bay Area, in Santa Clara.
Okay.
So the headquarters was in Silicon Valley. It was one of the first Silicon Valley's company. Yeah. And they had a wonderful campus, one of the first campuses in Silicon Valley.
Wow.
So it was gorgeous.
Yes, great. And now I assume you're retired?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And so you play violin for the Auburn Symphony, among others.
Yep.
I'm assuming, since you live in Lincoln.
Nowadays.
Excuse me, Lincoln. And so how long have you played with the Auburn Symphony?
Now about 6 years.
Okay. How did you get involved with them?
Well, when we came up here, that was 2012. I was in the Bay Area, as I mentioned, and I moved to the United States in 1996 for good. So we lived down in the Bay Area in Fremont. And I didn't play the violin for a long time, so probably I didn't play 6-7 years. And then I started to look for some people who play string quartet, chamber music. So we formed a small group just for fun, and we played for about 1 year, 2 years, and then we moved up here in 2012.
Okay.
And up here, I didn't know anybody, and I was still busy with my work. I traveled a lot. And then I looked around what's going on music-wise, and I saw that there are some chamber music workshops. Especially downtown in Sacramento, there is the Sac State.
Okay.
And they have a workshop every year. It's called CalCap.
CalCap.
So that's a 1-week intensive music workshop, chamber music. So I signed up for that, and I went down there, and I met a whole bunch of people from the area. And that's how it started.
And so there were rumors and ideas and suggestions.
Yes, exactly. Many people from the Auburn Symphony were there also. And then they asked me if I could help with the concert, and that's how it started.
Yeah. Okay. And so did you just arrive, or what? How did that work? How did you get to be on the symphony?
As I mentioned, I played in the chamber music workshop. And that's how I met the people. And then when they had a need, they always have a need for some good string players.
Right. Yeah.
So they asked me if I could come to the symphony and help out. Okay. So then for one program I showed up for a rehearsal and I played with them. I don't remember the program, but that's how it started.
Was that Peter?
That was Peter Chaff,
yeah,
conducting the symphony.
All right. And do you have other places? You do have other places you play for on a regular basis?
Yes, it started out with the Auburn Symphony, and then with the people I met at the chamber music workshop I formed some groups, smaller groups, string quartets, and also we played a piano trio and such things. And then also it expanded into the Folsom Symphony, because many people actually play in both symphonies, the Autumn Symphony and the Folsom Symphony.
Yeah.
So I helped out with the concert at the Folsom, and right now, since I'm retired now, I have the time, so I play in both symphonies, which can be sometimes a bit stressful with all the rehearsals going on. But
yes. Yeah, I can imagine.
It's fun, it's a challenge, and it's fun.
Yes. When you say a piano trio, what do you mean? 3 pianos?
No, okay. No. In the music you have the string quartets, which is the usual 1 violin, 2 second violin, a viola and a cello. That's a standard string quartet. And then you have a piano quartet, which means you have 1 piano, 1 violin, 1 viola and 1 cello. That's a piano quartet.
Okay.
And the piano trio is a piano, 1 violin and a cello. And the big difference is the smaller the group gets, the more exposed you are.
Yeah. Yes, I can understand.
So, of course, that's challenging, and it's also satisfying, you know, to be
you're
heard.
Seeing what you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's definitely challenging to play in a small group.
Yes. Yeah. I'm remembering when we first met, coming out of the Placer High Auditorium, and I invited you to be my guest and explained that I'd been doing this for a while, and some of the people I had approached, many say yes, some say no, because this isn't me. You don't want to talk to me. You want to talk to my instrument. It's not me you want. It's the instrument.
Well, it's the group. It's really teamwork.
Yeah, but they are surrounded. You are surrounded by brilliant musicians, and you are a brilliant musician yourself. And it's not that you're soloing necessarily.
Exactly.
Absolutely not. But it's still you are performing, and that was a very important thing I learned about musicians in the symphony. So which makes it even better that you came to talk to me. So why do you play the violin?
I don't really remember how it started. It was in about 3rd, 4th grade. And usually in Switzerland, in Europe, you start music education in the school with the flute, with the recorder, just a little wood flute. And pretty much everybody does that as a regular class. Yeah. And of course, you're just messing around with it as a young kid, but it's a start into music.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how it happened that I started and my parents supported me in learning the violin. I think I saw it in the symphony, in the orchestra, and I liked it. My parents, they weren't really musical. They didn't play much of an instrument. My mom liked classical music, so she went a lot to classical concerts, and she took us as kids with her. And that's how I got started and immersed into classical music, I guess. And she supported me to learn the violin, and I remember the violin teacher I had. She was a really great person, and she taught the kids, the children in her house in the basement, which had it was not a dark basement.
Right,
we had some windows out. But we were down there, and I remember she did, you know, special events for Christmas or Santa Claus and all that stuff, and it was just a great environment to learn without the pressure, but still with guidance to learn.
Yeah.
So I still remember that it was a nice environment. And then pretty soon I started to play in the youth orchestra together with children's choir from the church. And that was actually really one of the main points for me, besides schools, to meet other teenagers, especially in the teenage years. You know, we did camps, we did week-long camps with the choir.
You were busy.
So we did lots of things.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. And then the older I got, the more experience I had with other orchestras. I played in several orchestras, especially in Europe, in Switzerland. It's very common for a village, a smaller village, to have a musical company. So the operettas, which is the light opera music, so like Johann Strauss and Lehar and Kallmann, all these light music composers. So we played lots of musicals and then some operas. One memory I have, opera playing, we were in the music camp or vacation or whatever. We were in Italy, in Assisi. And we were the youth orchestra for this music festival in Assisi, and we played Respighi opera.
Oh my!
Out in the open in an amphitheater, and we had the bats flying around. And we played the opera, and it was really, really great.
Yeah.
So great memories growing up.
Yes. So, would you show us your violin,
sure,
please, and your bow? How long? Oh, I didn't. Before we started talking, I didn't ask you to. So hold it up in front of you, and no, that way.
This way.
Yeah, and hold it up a little more, longer than you think would be necessary. I see a spot here, where it's lighter than the others, elsewhere.
Well,
how long have you had that violin?
You start out with a smaller violin actually as a kid.
Okay.
So they are called 3/4 violins or half violins. I think they go down to a quarter actually, which is really small for the kids to start.
Yeah.
So I started with the 3/4 violins, and then probably, I would say at the age of 13, 14, my parents bought me this violin, the whole one.
And that's the one you play with?
Yes, that's the one.
You perform on.
Yes, and I remember we had a selection. My violin teacher, she brought about 6, 7, 8 violins, and we did. She played it, and we had our chart to rate the violins, and then she did the blind test. And actually, this one came out with the warmest tone and the more balanced tone throughout. And I still love it. It's a great instrument. It's from Vienna in Austria. And the violin maker, the luthier, it's Johann Josef Stadelmann. And it was built in Vienna in 1771.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
1771.
Yeah, so it has some history.
So no wonder it looks a little
to the spot, you know,
beat up. But it's been performed on for centuries.
Yes. So who knows what happened at this
centuries. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Have you named it?
No, it's just my violin.
Okay. Okay.
No, I didn't give it the name.
Wow.
And
this is new, I can imagine.
That's the shoulder rest. And
turn it over so we see the back of it. So and hold it up. Thank you. And I see this. Has this always been there?
Yes.
Okay.
That's there. I don't know how it happened. Probably from laying it down for years and years, and then it was varnished again to protect it. And this mark is from people playing without the shoulder rest. So they play the violin right on the shoulder.
And do you ever wonder about what those shirts looked like and what they were playing and it's just got such its own history.
Absolutely.
It's been all over the place.
Yes.
That's a lovely instrument, and I've asked you to bring it so we can look at it, also so that you could let us hear what it sounds like under your musicianship. I don't want you to play a whole piece. Just
I can give you some sound examples.
Great.
So we have the 4 strings. So starting with the G and then D. So these are just the open strings, and then you add a vibrato to it. the same time. So you have a whole range of pianissimo, forte.
And pianissimo means?
Quiet.
Okay.
It's more pulled back.
Okay.
It's not always a measure of volume, it's more the intent.
Okay.
And forte is out there, and fortissimo would be then the loudest. So you really want to project whatever you can.
Yes. Okay. Alrighty. Thank you. Thank you. That's just gorgeous. Do you have any other violins?
I have one gypsy violin actually. I left it back in Switzerland with my sister. She likes to noodle around some. And a friend of mine, we did a lot of music back when we were there. And he is an Hungarian. So when Hungary opened the borders, we actually went to Hungary to meet his relatives, his grandma. And we went downtown into a restaurant, and back then there were much more gypsy bands playing in the restaurants. And since my friend spoke the language, he started to yak with the gypsies, and then they invited us to their home the next day. And they just played some and improvised, and then they said, well, you like this violin? It's for sale. So I bought it on the spot and brought it home. Great. Yeah, okay. So that's my violin gypsy, my gypsy violin.
Does that have a name other than
No.
Gypsy? Okay, you can put your violin back on the table. Thank you. Oh my. Do you teach?
No, I tried once to teach a friend's little son the violin, and I wasn't patient enough.
Okay.
Because when I showed, well, it was kind of ridiculous, but I was a teenager, I guess, in my 18s. And the boy was a little boy, and I taught him and I showed him what to do, and then I expected the next week that he had it, you know. But it never happens that way.
Come on, now.
So
why didn't you practice 8 hours a day?
It's a slow process to learn a violin. As you can imagine, in the beginning, you know, it sounds terrible, and you have to work at it, and it gets better and better, but it takes patience.
It takes patience and doing it.
Yeah.
And believing.
Yeah.
So,
teaching a violin, it's a hard job, and I really admire these violin teachers out there.
Okay. What other advice, in addition to, you know, practicing, do you have for beginning musicians?
To start to play in a group as quickly as possible. That really kept me with the violin. I think if I wouldn't have played in the children's orchestra and met other people doing music, I wouldn't have stuck with the violin. So as soon as you can, go into a youth orchestra or school orchestra and meet other people and play with them.
Yeah, it's because practicing is sort of like writing, because you're doing it all by yourself all the time, over every day.
Well, some people like practicing and they practice hours and hours. I'm not that one. And fortunately, I had it pretty easy. And so I didn't.
Which means you think you're pretty good?
No, it doesn't mean that. It means it came easily to me.
Okay.
To get something, and so I was able to fly by, you know.
Okay, maybe there were times when you knew you should have rehearsed more. But
absolutely.
Okay.
But yeah, nowadays I'm a little smarter, so when I need to practice, I put the time in. But some people, they have it easy, you know, to learn some stuff, and some people, they have to work hard on it.
Yeah.
And my violin teacher, once she told me, look, there are people who are really talented and they don't practice much, so they reach to a certain level and that's fine. Some other people, they don't have the talent, but they work hard, they reach a certain level, it's fine.
Yes.
And only a few, no, they have the talent and they work hard on it, and then they get up there.
They're up there, okay. Yes. And
And
hello,
obviously
Yo-Yo Ma.
I'm just here.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. When do you attend performances? In other words, are you an audience in the audience?
From time to time, yes.
What do you listen for? How do you know they're doing it right?
Well, I'm not going to a concert to hear whether they do it right or wrong. I'm going to hear some extraordinary artists or some extraordinary pieces I know and maybe I don't know and want to learn, but I usually go and want to listen and be immersed in the music.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you start to listen and analyze things, you know, oh, okay, that's there and that's there and that's there, but I usually just let it
affect you.
Affect me.
Okay.
Listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, and the guy, the conductor before Peter.
Yeah.
Michael, I believe. He told.
Michael, yeah.
I interviewed him 4 times, and
Uh-huh.
it was very difficult because he was such a perfectionist. And he said, "You need to listen, listen. Don't do anything else. Just listen." And my problem is I think about the musicians who wrote the music decades ago, centuries ago. I think about the trouble, the effort that you guys take to get together and rehearse together and rehearse separately. I imagine this communication is going on and sometimes I have a hard time listening because I'm so grateful.
Mm-hmm. But there are many aspects, I think, and it's also different from composition to composition. In the romantic area, as an example, it's really about projecting and communicating feelings and emotions. So in this case, I don't think you want to listen to the technicality behind it. Doesn't
Okay.
mean when you play it, you don't have to listen to what's going on. But as an audience, I think the intent is to transfer emotions. Other pieces, like the Sibelius we played yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
yes, there is emotion, but then there is also so much technical stuff going on, and I don't know if it's the intent of the composer to have the audience recognize that, or if it's more just the music as music and not the little details.
Uh-huh.
And that's also then a point for the conductor to bring that out. And we played with Scott Seaton
Mm-hmm.
last Sunday, and he is a real fan of Sibelius, and he pointed out, okay, that's going here and here and here, so he pointed out all these details, which is important, I think, for the orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
For an audience, I have to ask you.
No, it isn't important, but I'm grateful to hear about stuff
Mm-hmm,
like that.
mm-hmm.
And Urse was talking about the Auburn Symphony's concert in, what month is this? This was the last day of February, last Sunday of February. And I think essentially the symphony's season is over. But
We still have one Mother's Day concert in May.
Mother's Day concert in May.
Mm-hmm.
And log on to auburnsymphony.com
Absolutely.
if you want to learn more about it. And that's it. Where is that? Is that at the high school?
Yes, at the high
Okay.
school. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually we did it at the Mondavi Center down in Davis,
The Mondavi Center.
and we'll see if that happens again. But
Yeah, I
now
hope
we
it
are up
does.
here.
I hope it does. I hope you enjoy playing there as much as I enjoyed listening to you guys
yeah.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. What about mistakes? Do you make mistakes?
I think everybody makes mistakes,
Okay.
and fortunately, in an orchestra, in a symphony,
The more people there are, the fewer mistakes people hear.
Yeah, exactly. You don't hear them,
Okay.
and you have your buddies in the group that cover for you if you make a mistake.
Yes.
And of course, that's where practice comes in, and how comfortable you are with the performance or with the piece in the end. But the other goal is to make as little mistakes as possible.
Sure. Yeah, and if you make a mistake, make it a little mistake.
Yes, exactly.
I can imagine that there would be some people who are so perfectionist that they freeze. They might freeze at the beginning, not later, not when they're more experienced.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm constantly aware of making mistakes, and oh well, okay, I'm not the only one, and I'm gratified because other people understand. Especially in a concert, there are all these notes coming. There's these notes racing up behind you, and you make a mistake, and there it goes. But there's these still.
You have to let go.
You have to let go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned in the symphony, it's somewhat forgiving, and the smaller the group, the more challenging it is. And that's why playing chamber music is so different to playing in a symphony. And that's why chamber music is so satisfying and actually scary. But if you can play a piece through...
It's scary because you know people are listening specifically to just 4 or 5.
Because everything is so transparent.
Yeah, okay.
So if you mess up, if you make a mistake, it's out there and people hear it.
Yeah.
So, and that's a challenge, and that's the satisfying part. So when you can play through a piece and you are satisfied with yourself, that's really satisfying.
Yeah. Yes. I can imagine other satisfying things. What is the difference? Is there a difference in your enjoyment between playing in somebody's living room by yourselves or performing in front of an audience? What is the difference?
The difference is when you just play for yourself, at least that's how I feel it. When you just play for yourself, you can stop at any time and you can repeat something, or if something happens, no big deal. And if you have people listening to it, you want to present something as a whole piece and not pieced up and not with any hiccups in it. So
I like hiccups. Not any. I like that. And you don't want to have any hiccups in it.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly.
Is there? So you want to do well in front of an audience.
Yeah.
But when you are playing in front of an audience, do you know that there's an audience there as you're playing? I mean, how do you know? Because they're there, Susan. I know that, but is there a feeling? Is there a sound? Aside from the cheer?
The energy is more tense.
Okay.
So you have an energy in the room. You know, it starts with starting the piece. Like with the conductor, you take the position, and then he gives the go. So it's just not just playing, it's something special. And the same in chamber music. You compose yourself and then you start. If you play for yourself, you just start.
Okay.
So it's just a little different start into the performance or into the playing.
All right. Do you have any advice for people attending an orchestra?
Enjoy, I guess. That's the most important thing.
Okay.
And keep an open mind. So if something doesn't please way out from the beginning, just listen to it and maybe listen for some... wait and try to listen for some other things.
Okay.
And as we talked about, you want to communicate emotions, or you want to communicate technical skills or technical brilliance in a composition. You can listen for that, you know, how well it is composed, from the strings to the brass and so on. So you can listen to all kinds of things.
All right. Urse, I thank you very much for joining me. This has been a wonderful time, a great discussion. This has been Urse Wehrle, a violinist in the Auburn Symphony, and if you want to learn more about the Auburn Symphony, log on to auburnsymphony.com. Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you, Susan, for having me.
You're welcome.